Okay, you ready for an awesome 360 effect? Hello filmmakers and welcome to Film It Yourself. Today I wanted to do a product review on the Insta360 ONE X camera, so let's get to it. Now, this doesn't exactly look like a camera. It looks pretty weird, and because it looks pretty weird, you're likely to get some weird looks while using it. Now, the cool thing about this camera is that it's a 360 camera and it has lenses on both sides so that you capture a full 360. And it shoots 5.7K video at 24, 25, and 30 frames per second, 4K video at 50 and 30 frames per second, and 3K video at 100 frames per second. So that way you can get slow motion if you want to get some slow motion with it. It also is stabilized, which is great. It has a stabilization thing called flow state, which really helps look really smooth. And it also comes with this invisible selfie stick. Now, this is really cool because when you put the camera on it and you shoot video or photos, the camera already has software in it that recognizes this selfie stick and erases it from your shot. How crazy is that? It's pretty cool. The only thing that I don't like about it is that it doesn't get rid of the shadow. So just be mindful of the angles you're shooting at, otherwise you might still have this weird stick shadow in your shots. Now, the other cool thing about this camera is because it's 360, you can completely reframe your shots. It's like having multiple camera angles so that you never miss a shot. Another cool thing about it is that it gives you unlimited camera movement possibilities. Because it's 360, you can pan, tilt, move around the shot as much as you want, which is pretty awesome. Now, there's lots of cool effects you can get with this camera. First up is the hyperlapse effect, which uses the flow state stabilization feature. And this allows you to speed up or slow down your footage to give a hyperlapse effect, which looks really cool. Also, you can do a cool tiny world effect, which makes it look like the world is really tiny and you're walking along the whole thing. Or there's a cool drone effect, which makes it look like you have a drone following you thanks to the invisible selfie stick. And finally, you can also do a bullet time effect, which is really cool and makes it look like the camera is spinning around you above your head. Just watch out because it's a little dangerous. Yeah, that hurt. But to do the bullet time effect, you need this little add-on, which also doubles as a tripod, but it folds up and attaches to the bottom of the selfie stick here so that you can swing it above your head. But you're probably wondering how exactly you do all this. So to do this, you're going to need the Insta360 app, and the app is really awesome and has a lot of features. And it lets you connect to your camera so that you can get a live preview. So here I am live right there. And you can also go in and click this button and you can see everything you locally have on your camera. I'm going to switch it to video because that's what we want. And you can see what you've locally downloaded to your phone. So here's all of my videos. So I'm going to select this one and show you how to do a cool hyperlapse. You just take your finger and you can scroll around. Let's say we want our shot to start around here. What you would do is you would trim it by hitting the edit button at the top and then trim. And so we want to trim so that it starts once it's already up. So we'll hit the check mark. Yes, we want that. And then what you want to do when you're doing a hyperlapse or some sort of tracking shot like this is you want to add in pivot points. And pivot points are going to keep the camera focused on one object. So in this scenario, if I hit play, you're going to see that I am walking around the fountain, but the fountain doesn't really stay perfectly centered the whole time. So what we might want to do is we'll go back to the beginning, we'll hold and tap and we'll say pivot point. And then you'll move along your footage a little bit farther and sort of reframe it how you want it. And then again, hold, pivot point. We'll go a little bit farther. So here it's falling out of the center, move it back, pivot point. Okay. So let's play that back and see how that looks. So we probably want to put a pivot point at the very beginning to fix that. But otherwise you can see it's staying on the fountain the whole time, which is pretty cool. And now if you want the hyperlapse effect of it speeding up, so we'll go back to the beginning and you're going to want to hit this edit button again, and we want speed. And you're going to want the hyperlapse 16 times speed. And then to distribute it, you just keep dragging however long you want it. We want it to keep going. And then maybe here we want it to slow down. So we hit the check box. And I highly recommend keeping the motion blur on, because the motion blur is what's going to help smooth out shaky motion. So we go back to the beginning and we'll hit the check mark and let's play it. So that's how you do a hyperlapse, by putting in pivot points. Let's take a look at the tiny world effect, because that is very cool too. So I will go back. So to get the tiny world effect, you just take 2 fingers and zoom until you have this tiny world, and it just looks so crazy and random, very weird effects. I'm also panning with the selfie stick here, which also adds to the effect. So there's a lot of things you can do with the selfie stick and the app that sort of make things look even cooler. So if you want to do a drone effect or make it look like the camera's like following you behind, you can use the selfie stick and hold it up high or hold it to the side. Or one thing that I found is if you hold it behind you, sort of over your shoulder, it can get this really cool follow effect. So here's an example of what that looks like. So you just reframe and the camera is just right over our shoulder, and you get this really cool follow camera effect. You can go up high, low, and it's pretty awesome. And because it's 360, you can do a cool thing by putting a pivot point right here, and then we play a little farther. And let's say we want the camera to spin around and show where we've come. Hold down, put another pivot point there, and now if we scroll back and play, we'll see the camera will turn around to the other pivot point. But one of my favorite features is the bullet time effect, which you can see here. So you go to the special bullet time tab, and I'll just select this shot here, and you can see what that looks like. It's a very cool effect. Definitely trips people out who don't know how it's being done, because you can't see the camera because of the invisible selfie stick. So where I think this camera could be really cool for filmmakers is I think you could get some really crazy POV shots, kind of like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, or like a video game character point of view perspective type shot. But you could also get cool drone shots. Like maybe you can't afford a drone, you could get some cool drone or follow shots this way. I think if used motivatedly, this could be really cool, especially if you have a character who's like in some sort of magical situation or on a drug trip or something weird. You can definitely make it feel weird and different with this camera. So there are links for this in the description below, so please check those out if you are interested in the 360 camera. And if you like this video, consider actually liking it by giving this video a thumbs up. It helps me out with the YouTube algorithm, which in turn helps me sleep worry-free. Okay, you can go now. It's nap time. Oh, and get out there and film it yourself. 4K bit rate. 24 frames per second.